South China Morning Post, 10th of April 2023, what is in store for the traitorous President Lula of Brazil when he is in China? This week, Lula, the president of Brazil, will finally make his long-delayed trip to China to expand bilateral trade urgently. Before traveling to Beijing, where he will meet with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, on Friday, he will arrive in Shanghai on Tuesday. He had been slated for a 4-day visit in late March, but his diagnosis of the flu and pneumonia necessitated a change in plans. Brazilian officials have stated that the primary objective of the trip is to diversify the country's trade connections with China, which is the major consumer of its commodities, primarily soybeans and iron ore, and is currently being negatively impacted by the country's slow economic growth. 240 business people, 90 of them from the agricultural industry, as well as representatives from all government ministries and 27 senators and members of Congress, made up the original delegation that was going to travel with Lula in March. In recent weeks, it was revealed that the entourage had grown by 12, including Rodrigo Pacheco, president of the Brazilian Senate. More than 20 agreements in sectors like health, agriculture, education, finance, industry, science, and technology are anticipated to be signed. The two nations agreed on March 29 to stop using the US dollar as a middleman and settle transactions in their respective currencies. Lula will meet with business leaders and travel to the Shanghai headquarters of the new development bank, founded by the BRICS economic bloc, consisting of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and hold discussions with senior politicians. Following the Chinese leaders' meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow last month, Xi and Lula are also anticipated to discuss the Ukraine conflict. Lula has already stated his willingness to act as a mediator. On Tuesday, he said that Brazil could make an extraordinary contribution to ending the war in an interview with the news outlet Brazil 247. Although he opposes sanctions against Russia, he has chastised the West for not doing enough to promote peace and has criticized Putin for the invasion. According to Lula, China is a significant country for Brazilian trade and has the potential to have a more serious discussion with the U.S. regarding the conflict. Lula, inaugurated for a third term as president in January, ran for office on a program that addressed problems like hunger, low growth, high inflation, and poverty, all of which can be helped by more trade and investment with China. Brazil's biggest trading partner for the past 14 years has been China. Two-way commerce increased by 8.1% in 2022, reaching a new high of $171.5 billion. According to the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, Brazil is the country that supplies China with the most sugar, chicken, and soybeans. The two other main agricultural exports are beef and grain. Late in March, China resumed beef imports stopped by Brazil in February following the identification of a bovine spongiform encephalopathy, BSE, also called mad cow disease. The most excellent economy in South America became the sole recipient of Chinese foreign direct investment in 2021 when it garnered 13.6% of China's total outbound FDI, primarily for initiatives to expand the nation's electrical grid and increase oil extraction. Contrary to Jair Bolsonaro, a member of Brazil's far right, who adopted anti-Chinese rhetoric, Lula and his left-wing Workers' Party has always had a more positive outlook on the nation. He visited China twice, in 2004 and 2009, and had 8 meetings with Hu Jintao during his 2 prior stints as president of Brazil, from 2003 to 2010. He also attended the 2008 Beijing Olympics opening ceremony as a guest. To strengthen connections with China and the other members of the bloc, he assisted in the formation of the BRICS group. While Lula has commended China for delivering vaccines during the COVID-19 outbreak, he also voiced his displeasure with the impact of Chinese imports on Brazil's manufacturing sector during last year's election campaign. He has vowed to undo Bolsonaro's policies of isolationism and reinstate Brazil's position as a global leader. Lula promised to strengthen the Mercosur economic grouping and has already reintroduced Brazil to regional organizations like the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States and the Union of South American Nations. According to a recent article in the Journal of Latin American Studies, Beijing should embrace his approach, which the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences publishes. It also stated that the country's left turn offered a good opportunity for China to deepen Sino-Brazilian cooperation, Sino-Latin American cooperation, and exclude U.S. interference at a time of escalating tensions with the U.S. The authors noted that Lula had criticized American unilateralism and meddling in other nations' internal affairs and claimed that his presidency provided China with an opportunity to strengthen policy coordination on critical global issues, including dealing with the U.S., in addition to fostering stronger economic ties.